I'm in the middle of live convention.
Hi everybody, and thank you for coming back to the BNS channel. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Hi everybody, and thank you for coming back to the BNS channel. My name is EdieAnne. Today we're going to be discussing something that is talked about once a year, at least. And first I need to put out a disclaimer. I am not an accountant. I am not a certified bookkeeper. However, I have experience with bookkeeping for different companies, corporate, home-based, for over 20 years. Therefore, what I am going to be sharing with you is based on experience, insight of what I've learned, and no more than that. So please understand, this is not legal advice. This is not corporate advice. This is Edie advice. So with that disclaimer said, if you haven't figured out what we're going to be talking about today, we're talking about taxes. We are at the end of the year. We're thinking about putting our taxes together. We are looking at 2012 and making sure that we are organized for next year. One of the things that I'd like to share with you is that with my Scentsy business, I was not prepared tax-wise in 2011. I was not prepared for the growth that I received. I was not prepared for the expenses that I incurred. Therefore, this video is to help you to be organized, know what deductions you can take, and prepare for your taxes for next year. So, let's get started. First of the information that I'm going to be providing to you is from workathomemoms.com, WAHM.com. And what we're talking about is 5 tax advantages to having a home-based business. Now, to have a home-based business, you're actually doing yourself a favor in the tax realm because you have more deductions that you can provide during your tax preparation that you would if you were working in a corporate office. So having an at-home business is definitely a tax advantage. Now, one of those expenses is a home expense. So we have the ability to deduct a portion of our mortgage, our utilities, those sorts of things during our deduction processing. Now, it's important that we accurately calculate the square footage of our home because we need to be able to tell what percentage of our home office is part of that square footage. But we want to make sure that we're doing it the right way and we're documenting everything. They do have a tax guide for small business on the IRS site. I believe it's publication 334. So it will determine details on home office deduction. The office expenses are a little bit different because if you are renovating or if you are upgrading or if you repainted your office or refurnished your office, those are expenses that you can deduct. Now, you cannot deduct landscaping that's done on the outside of the office because that's part of your entire home square footage. However, anything inside the office, such as paint, those supplies would be deductible. The other expense advantage is a business expense. Now, many home-based business expenses are tax deductible. A partial list would include tax preparation fees for your home-based business, education expenses for classes you take to improve your business skills, software purchased to use for your business, traveling and meal expenses related to business, and you want to check with the IRS for specific guidelines on deducting meals, and deduction limits, like how much you can deduct in meals per year. And then transportation used for business purposes. You can deduct mileage traveled for business at a per mile amount. Okay. Other expenses, which would be number 4 in our tax advantage, all the items you need for your business, whether it's beads for your jewelry, whether it's warmers for your gift, whether it's fabric for your dressmaking, a computer for your tutoring or for your bookkeeping. These are all deductible as business expenses. Now, depending on your type of business, these can add up really quick. The other tax advantage, which I find to be very helpful, and the more I've thought this through. If you already know me, I have a daughter who helps me quite a bit. So you can have family employees. Now, I'm going to read this verbatim. Hire your responsible teenage son or daughter to keep inventory for your business. This results in an additional business expense deduction for you as well as income for your child. Be sure to document all the hours worked by your family members or any employee you hire, obviously, in case you are ever audited. Many home-based businesses use IRS Schedule C to report income and expenses. All the expenses listed above will be subtracted from your business income, most likely lowering your taxable income significantly, which is good since your net income is what you will be taxed on. A key for home businesses is accurate record keeping. You want to be prepared to turn over a neat log of all business expenses, complete with dates, amounts, and confirming documents when appropriate in case of an audit. That's very important because they are going to check your records. So it's easy enough to keep good records and to keep track of it. So those are the 5 tax advantages. Now, what I want to go over are organizational things to keep you ready for next year. And hopefully you got some of those tasks done during the year 2011. And I used Microsoft Excel. In Microsoft Excel, I was able to find a template online that was already pre-done for me that allowed me to put in my expenses, whether it was my travel, my postage, my gifts that I was given out, or my contributions for a fundraiser, those sorts of things. So I was able to track it in Excel. The cumbersome part of that is the more information that you feed into it, the more it's difficult to sift through it to find information at the end of the year. So that's where I'm kind of at right now. So now the tool that I've transferred into in the last couple weeks is Quick. So I was able to get my expenses set up, my bills set up, my accounts set up, my bank accounts, and it's been a lot easier. Now the advantage at the end of next year is that I'll have some quick reports that I can run to tell me exactly how much I earned, how much I had it for expenses, and for deductions and that sort of thing. So it's going to be much easier for me to do my taxes at the end of next year. So organization. Keep yourself an envelope in your car so that you can maintain and keep all receipts to everything that you spend for your business. If you keep it at hand, you won't lose them. You'll keep track of them. At the end of each month, separate the envelopes by month so that they're easily accessible later if you need to find a receipt. Or use one of those accordion files and you can put it by the month and then put your receipts in that. Find a way that's convenient for you, but sort them by month. Sort them in a way that you can easily find information later if you need it. We want to save all of our receipts. It's very important. It would be a lot easier to pull out receipts that don't have anything to do with our business than to try and find a receipt that had to do with our business that we no longer have, right? Okay. Next, for organization is you want to make sure that anytime you do a fundraiser that you keep receipts of the check that you wrote to them as the contribution. So, for instance, the way that I do it is I will go to the bank and I will have them do a cashier's check in the name of the fundraiser, and they always have a little stub that goes with it. Now, the stub is going to give the information about the fundraiser, it's going to give the date, it's going to give the amount, and that way I can keep that stub for my records to show that a fundraising check was created and that it was given on a specific date. So that would go with my order receipt and packaged together so that I know how much of a contribution I made on that particular fundraiser. Okay? The other thing is to make sure that you are keeping receipts for any purchases that you make online through your company. Most companies that are in direct sales have an internal or a specific store that you can purchase your supplies through. With Scentsy, it's called Scentsy Success. We get our order forms, our catalogs, our tools, any business supplies or sales supplies that we need can be purchased through that site. So my suggestion is to make sure that you are printing out a receipt so that way you can write supplies, office supplies, business sales supplies, tools, that sort of thing, and categorize it in another folder. That way you can also go back and track through. Okay? So those are a little bit of organizational things that might help. So now the next thing I want to do is kind of list out some of the deductions that we actually can take in regards to a home-based business. There's going to be advertising expenses. Anytime you post a publication and it costs you money, anytime you print business cards, anytime you make magnets, anytime you print out flyers, those types of advertising or expenses are deductible. Car, truck expenses you can deduct. If you have a car that you solely use just for your business, by all means, that's 100% deductible. You may deduct your mileage when you are delivering orders, when you're going to parties, when you're meeting with people for potential recruits or hostesses or anything like that. That's all deductible mileage. The utilities, the office utilities, that sort of thing, I believe it's 10%. There are some specific percentages based on the square footage that you're using within your home. So remember that. You'll have to look that up. Your dues for clubs and organizations, that sort of thing. If you belong to the chamber, then you have that as a deductible. Education expenses. You know that Edie loves education and training. Anytime you do training and you have to pay for it and it's business related, it is deductible. So make sure that you're keeping track of all of that and take advantage of that, because there's tons of training out there and tons of deductions that you can do from training. Insurance, definitely insurance. If you have an insurance expense, that is a deductible. And I mean insurance for liabilities, that sort of thing. Car insurance. The home insurance could also be part of that, but again, it's not based on a percentage of the square footage that you're using in your home. Legal and professional fees, if you have an accountant, those are deductible fees. Meals and entertainment expenses. This is a big one. There's a hairy line here. But meals and entertainment expenses, if you go on a trip and you are, maybe it's a personal trip, but if you are going and you take time during that trip to do any kind of recruiting, any kind of sales proposal, you can deduct some of that trip. Uniforms and clothing, this is cool. Now, if it's a specific uniform, if you buy a shirt from Scentsy per se, and it has a Scentsy logo, that's considered a uniform. That is deductible. Great stuff. A pin, deductible. Okay? Any of those are sales tools. Employee awards. You can deduct employee awards. If you have a team and you provide awards to them or rewards to them, that is all deductible. Okay? If you provide prizes during a party, a home party, that is deductible. Okay? I hoped that you found this information a little bit helpful. I know that 2012 for me is going to be an amazing year. I have great plans for growth and expansion. I am hoping that you all do as well. Keep those positive thoughts going. Tax season is really not as bad as you think it is. If you keep organized during the year, it's a cinch at the end of the year. So hopefully this was helpful. Thank you again for coming to the BNS channel. I appreciate your support. Make sure you post comments below on any helpful tips that you might have. You have yourself a sensational day.